FLATWIRE by Liberty Wire and Cable is revolutionizing AV installations for any kind of residential or commercial retrofit. This video explains the easy installation steps for a typical FLATWIRE solution for a 5.1 surround sound audio system. Also on this video are the easy installation steps for HDMI, component, RGB AV applications, as well as low voltage sconces. The benefits of FLATWIRE are ease of installation, cost savings compared to tearing down walls, minimal amount of time required for the install, low mess and non-intrusive. The FLATWIRE solution is applied on top of the wall, so the installer does not have to tear down walls or drill through inner wall studs, which is time-consuming and costly. FLATWIRE lies perfectly flat against the wall, and after the installation is complete, FLATWIRE is virtually invisible. There are two simple steps to the installation process. The first is installing the FLATWIRE onto the wall, and second is preparing the wall to make the installation invisible by covering the FLATWIRE with drywall compound, texturing, and painting over the FLATWIRE. Installing FLATWIRE for speakers, sconces, component, and HDMI. Installing a FLATWIRE solution is very easy to do. Although one person can install a FLATWIRE solution in a time-efficient manner, having two people working on the installation will decrease the time required for the installation. This video shows how easy a FLATWIRE solution can be installed with two installers. Before beginning the installation project, it would be helpful to have these tools and parts as they are required: FLATWIRE, FLATWIRE connectors, FLATWIRE wall mount termination boxes, FLATWIRE mesh tape, FLATWIRE spray adhesive, marker, level, pliers, tape measure, drill, screwdriver, scissors, plastic wallpaper scraper, cleanup cloth, eye protection, and dust mask. To begin the installation process, locate the point in the room where your AV electronic equipment will be placed. This equipment could be rack-mounted or not. The point in the room where your equipment will be located is where the FLATWIRE wall mount termination boxes will be located. We are installing a FLATWIRE audio solution for 5.1, which will connect to 5 speakers in the room. To accommodate the 5 speakers in the room, we will run 5 separate FLATWIRE speaker cables. Each cable will need its own wall box, so we will use 5 wall boxes that are 5-way binding post style. We start out by determining where we will fasten the wall boxes to the wall. For this installation, we will want our wall boxes to be installed 6 inches from the corner of the wall and 24 inches high from the floor. Using the level, the installers mark a horizontal line for accurate placement of the wall boxes. Next, they attach the first wall box to the wall. After all 5 wall boxes are fastened in place, it is time to draw out the lines from the wall boxes to where the speakers will be. This process is called mapping. Using the level to mark a mapped path is important, as a FLATWIRE is easier to work with when it runs in straight lines, and the cable run for the first speaker is mapped. The installers continue to mark the path to the remaining 4 speakers. Now that the installation is completely mapped, the first FLATWIRE cable run can be made. They measure the FLATWIRE to cover the entire mapped distance of each cable run, leaving an excess of 6 to 8 inches at the top for the speaker connectors. Before the FLATWIRE is adhered to the wall, the installers check the cable polarity, making sure that when the cable is laid out for the installation, the positive wire will connect to the red component and the negative wire to the black component of the wall plate. They are now ready to spray the FLATWIRE adhesive to the mapped path on the wall. Cleaning the adhesive spray nozzle before the project begins is a good idea to make sure that it sprays out evenly. The spray adhesive sprays a pattern similar to the width of the FLATWIRE, so there is limited concern about overspraying. Nice, smooth, even arm motions along the path will give the best results. 30 seconds after spraying, the adhesive will start to set and will get tacky. FLATWIRE is now ready to be adhered to the wall. Starting from the bottom of the wall, the installers start working their way up the wall. As they apply the FLATWIRE to the sprayed strip of adhesive, they use a plastic, non-metallic smoothing tool to press the FLATWIRE firmly to the wall. This will also eliminate any air bubbles. A plastic wallpaper tool works best for this. Now that the FLATWIRE is in place, they cut the FLATWIRE from the roll, leaving 6 to 8 inches of excess. The installers continue this same process for the 4 remaining speakers. Folding flat wire makes following a vertical mapped path to the horizontal mapped path as simple as folding a piece of paper. Flat wire is easy to fold, and folding is non-destructive to the flat wire. Our installers make a perfect 90-degree angle, which ensures that the flat wire does not slope up or down following a long mapped path. They again use the smoothing tool to secure the flat wire to the wall and to make a crisp crease for the fold. A small amount of adhesive is sprayed to the inside of the fold so that it will stick to itself, and using the smoothing tool again, the flat wire is flushly secured to the wall. Corners are simple to handle as well. Spray the adhesive into the corner and use the smoothing tool to make a crisp crease on the flat wire, where it will fit into the corner. The installers have now reached their second speaker destination. Using the same process as before, they make a 90-degree vertical angle, pointing the cable down, and leave 6 to 8 inches of excess flat wire for the speaker connection. This shot shows the completion of both rear speakers. Now that the installers have applied the flat wire to the walls, they terminate the flat wire at the wall boxes. Each wall box comes with an easy-to-work-with clear self-adhesive mylar cable strain relief. The installer lines up the strain relief to the flat wire with the arrows pointing to the end of the flat wire, matching the positive with the positive and the negative with the negative. The paper backing is peeled off of the strain relief and is applied to the top side of the flat wire, folding it back along the perforations. Using scissors, cut along the horizontal black dotted lines first, proceeding to the vertical lines located at the edges of the strain relief, trimming off the excess. The plastic sticker and the insulation is peeled back and cut off along the orange dotted lines. This is done on both connectors, on both sides of the flat wire, with the exposed copper conductor of the flat wire as the only thing remaining. Another cut is made in the middle of the flat wire to the imprinted circle, which indicates the stopping point. The exposed copper conductors are laid against the corresponding termination inside the wall box. The excess flat wire is folded against itself, and the cover is then attached to the wall box. This process is repeated for the remaining speaker cable runs and corresponding wall plates. Installing the wall anchors. Attaching the wall anchor to the wall secures the flat wire to the wall. The anchor can be attached either horizontally or vertically, depending on how the speaker will be mounted. Generally, the anchor is mapped out to be behind the speaker. The smooth side of the wall anchor faces the wall. The installer threads the flat wire through the slit of the wall anchor. Once the anchor is level, it is attached to the wall. The installer now uses the supplied strain relief to the end of the flat wire, following the same procedure that was previously used for the wall boxes. Banana jacks are now being attached to the exposed flat wire copper conductor, matching the positive with the red and the negative with the black. Side slits on the banana jack and plastic sleeve make it easy for the copper conductor to slide into the conductor. Once in, the installer rolls the plastic sleeve onto the wire. There are 3 different kinds of jacks, and the process is the exact same for each. The process is repeated for the remaining speakers. This now concludes the installation of the flat wire to the speakers. This video will now show you how to properly install the flat wire to the low voltage sconces. First, make sure that you have turned off the power from the main circuit breaker. If you are concerned about installing flat wire low voltage cables, please contact your electrical contractor for assistance. To start, the installation needs to be mapped out. The locations of where the low voltage wall sconces will be located and what electrical outlets the low voltage cables for the sconces will attach to for power needs to be identified. Use the template for the connector, making sure that it is terminated evenly. The wire is folded down onto the breakaway tab in the back. The connector is placed teeth side down, penetrating the wire. 2 clicks will be heard, one when it is put in place and the second when pressure is applied using the pliers. The template guide is then broken off. This is now the starting point for the low voltage connection. The connector that is now attached to the flat wire is inserted into the back of the new flat wire faceplate. The new faceplate is attached to the outlet. Following the installation mapping, The installer mounts the sconce bracket to the wall using drywall anchors and screws. Since 2 sconces are being installed, a connector will be installed on the first sconce. The flat wire will continue its mapped path to the second sconce. The installer leaves a loop of 6 to 8 inches at the first sconce where the connector will be installed. The connector is placed on the flat wire exactly the same way as how the faceplate to the outlet was connected. The installer now connects the tabs of each lead of the sconce light to the connector. The excess flat wire is tucked behind the fixture and the light is screwed into place using the supplied decorative screws. After the second sconce is in place, plug the transformer into the outlet. There is a power switch on the side of the transformer and on the sconces. The sconces are now properly installed. Field terminating the audio-video data 1, audio-video data 2, and the component video cables is simple. These cables have a defined pattern, requiring that each cable must be terminated in a precise spot. These cables come in pre-cut lengths, so the installer must terminate the wire to the correct length of the mapped path. First, the installer makes sure that the word "top" on both connectors is in the same matching position, then sliding one of the connectors back on the flat wire. Next, the back of the connector is placed on and a click will be heard, and the connector is slid to the appropriate length. There is a window as a guide on the connector. The pattern of the flat wire copper connector must line up with the window guide. Once in correct position, the connector is squeezed closed using pliers and a second click will be heard. The installer then removes the guide and cuts off the excess flat wire. The wall box is now attached to the wall. The installer inserts the connector into the wall box with the word "top" facing away from the wall. Now that the component video is installed, the next installation is the HDMI flat wire. Installing the HDMI flat wire. The HDMI flat wire is ordered in a pre-terminated length and cannot be re-terminated. The installers in this video are using a length of 12 feet. First, the installer will determine the location of the HDMI origination point and installs the wall box. The HDMI flat wire is connected directly into the wall box. Here is a side angle of what it looks like plugging into the board inside of the wall box. The backplate is now installed onto the wall box, which helps secure the flat wire into the wall box. The installer maps the path and installs the flat wire, like previously shown during the speaker and sconce installation procedure. Here is what the room now looks like with all of the flat wire installed. The next step is preparing the wall to make the installation invisible by covering the flat wire with drywall compound, texturing, and painting over the flat wire. This video is utilizing a professional painter to cover the flat wire. As with all major paint jobs, before starting, the painter is covering the work area with tarps and plastic to keep the carpet, wallboards, ceiling, and any other items from any unwanted mess or spills. This room has textured walls. Yet, other than the application of the texture, working on a smooth wall would be worked in the same manner. To begin the process, the painter is covering the flat wire with self-adhesive mesh tape. The purpose of the mesh tape is to conceal the flat wire cable and to add extra protection. The painter smooths out the mesh tape with his hand to take out any bumps and unwanted air bubbles. Once the proper length has been applied, he cuts the mesh tape using a metal spatula or scissors, making sure not to touch the flat wire. This process is continued throughout the rest of the room. Once the mesh tape is in place, the painter is going to apply drywall compound, referred to as mud, over the flat wire. The mud will dry white, and the painter will scrape and smooth out any ridges and bumps for a nice smooth surface. The painter is now doing a wet sand with a damp sponge to clean the area from dust particles for a nice, smooth, clean surface. Once dry, a paint primer for new drywall is applied to the mud, sealing the surface of the mud. This will result in an even texture all around the room. Now that the walls are primed and dry, the painter is covering the ceiling with a paper mask to protect it from texture overspray. The texture is now being evenly sprayed on the walls. The painter will allow the texture to partially dry before smoothing it out with a smoothing tool in an up and down even motion. Now that the texture is applied, the walls are primed with paint primer. Once the primer is dry, the first coat of paint is applied, followed by a second coat. Here are shots of the room after the paint has dried. As you can see, the FLATWIRE is completely invisible. This concludes the video of fully installing, mudding, texturing, and painting for a FLATWIRE 5.1 surround sound audio system, including HDMI, component, RGB, and sconces by Liberty Wire and Cable. Thanks for watching.